children, and in 1992 I started studying herbs, and I had my first son, my science project I call him. 'Cause all of these formulas I basically tried on him, and that's how I figured out that they work. And if they didn't work, well, he's still here, so herbs are very forgiving. Okay, so I'm Sakina, and you can, if you can't see these, I have notes afterwards, and if you need me to pass them around, it's the same slides on here. So in the treatment of childhood disease, promotion of wellness, and the prevention of future problems in adult life, herbal medicines have a lot to offer. Because what children do now really affects them later on in life, so the better start that they get, the better off they'll be in the long run. The person's constitution is determined by certain bodily characteristics. I have a chart on the next page. In Chinese medicine, the constitution is explained in yin and yang terms. I'm sure you've all heard yin and yang. It's kind of seeking the balance. And it's the same thing in Islamic medicine. It's broken down into 4 humors, but it's basically the same principle of the body trying to maintain its equilibrium. If I'm going too fast or you have any questions, just stop me. Because Mary said it's 4 hours, right? So we can...
We have a break in the middle, too.
Yeah. I can talk as fast or as slow and as long as you want me to. Okay. And those with weak constitutions should use herbs that mostly leaves and flowers and with the active properties. And people with a stronger constitution really benefit by the rhizomes, the roots, and the seeds of a plant. Just mostly for children, but in elderly also this is true. Okay, so this right here breaks down the 2 different parts of a person's constitution. A person with a weak constitution, you'll notice, is more of a sluggish, inactive individual. They're more frail, small-boned people. They have more of a negative personality. Those tend to be the complainers. They're shy and timid. I was in the doctor's office this week and a little boy came in and he was holding between his mother's legs. That's basically an example of somebody with a weak constitution. And they also have more of a slumped-over posture, and they're a lot more introspective. Those would be the quiet people you'd see sitting in the corner. And people with a strong constitution, mostly this group of bike riders, large-boned people, positive personality, they're more outgoing and aggressive, not in a negative way, but these are the people that would tend to speak up first in a group. Also, they stand more straight, and they have a lot more extroverted personality. The temperament of a baby is hot and humid, and if you notice, babies are generally warm when you pick them up, and they tend to be round and plump with a lot of phlegm. If you notice, you hear them a lot. They're very humid temperament. Let's see. A nursing infant is the most perfect example. If you've ever been around a baby who's nursing, they tend to have nice fresh breath, and when they have bowel movements, they tend to be sweeter smelling and not so offensive. The infant's body is not in a state of toxemia, where most adults get to, by the accumulation of poisons, waste products, and by violating the natural laws. And that's, babies tend to come in the world basically pretty natural. They're not corrupted, they're not full of a lot of toxins, unless you vaccinate them when they're born, which we'll get into at the end of this. And also, during the break, I bought a couple of vaccine books and 2 motherhood magazines with vaccine articles, because I didn't want to put too much out here because it's very controversial. I don't want to get sued, I don't want to go to jail, so it's one of those very iffy things. But I'll be happy to answer any questions because I have 2 unvaccinated children and they still go to school, so it can be done. The doses that you would use for a child is 1/3 of what an adult dosage would be. So the average adult is 150 pounds, so it's 1/3 of 150 for a child, depending on their weight. So you can scale that back for, say, a 10-pound infant, or you can scale it a little higher if you have an 8 or a 9-year-old child. And for an infant, 1 drop of tincture per pound of weight is the standard measurement. I like alcohol-free tinctures for babies just because I'm not really too keen on alcohol for a small child. A nursing mother can also drink the herbs a half hour, 20 minutes before she nurses, and the herbs come out in her breast milk. Let's see. So if you're trying to translate, if you're looking at an herbal book and you want to translate a tea into a capsule or the reverse, a tea, the standard preparation is 1 ounce of the herb to a pint of water, and 1 cup of tea is equivalent to 2 capsules. So, and a way to get a child to take a capsule, basically, especially if it's a small child that doesn't swallow, I like to just take the powder out and mix it with a little bit of honey. I actually have one of those formulas with me now for an elderly person, and I'll pass it around and you can kind of see what it looks like. And what you do with something like this, in Tib medicine we call it gelanous. It's a very pasty consistency. You take a little pinch out, you put it in some hot water and mix it up, and it's like a tea. And the honey preserves it, and you can travel with it anywhere, so it's a lot easier to take with you if you're traveling with a sick child. I'll start over here. Just take a peek and pass it around. Sorry to put you on the spot. You just happen to be closest. Let's see. Okay. For children's respiratory problems, I broke down a chart of what herbs are good for that. And colt's foot is an herb that's good for child respiratory problems. And the pot that's used is the leaf. It's used as an infusion, and the dosage is 6 ounces frequently. And you can scale that up or down for the age of the child.
6 ounces of what? I'm sorry, I missed it.
6 ounces of the fluid extract or infusion, like a tea.
Okay.
Infusion is really another word for a tea. It just sounds better. Mullein is another herb that's also good for children's respiratory problems. That's also, the leaves are used. If anybody is not familiar with these herbs, Mary has them here. It's the one place I don't have to lug my herbs around, so if anybody wants to take a look, I'm sure Mary will let us take a little field trip to the herb show. Hyssop, or hyssop, the leaves are also good for respiratory problems with children. It's used as an infusion again, and you need 3 ounces of this herb frequently. Horehound tastes terrible, but if you can get them to drink that, good luck. I like to mix it with wild cherry and a little bit of hibiscus for color. People tend to like red, especially children, and I make it into like a cough syrup with, you make a decoction, which is a tea with the water steamed out of it to half its size. So say you start off with 8 ounces of tea, you steam it on the stove until you're down to 4 ounces, and then you mix it with half honey, a pinch of cayenne pepper, and a little bit of lemon to preserve it. The cayenne helps it work a little faster. And not enough to make it hot, but just enough to make it work. And garlic also is very good for children. Wild cherry bark also helps to bring up the phlegm, and that's used as a decoction or syrup. 1/2 to 2 teaspoons 3 times a day. Garlic, the bulb is the part that's used for respiratory problems. You can use it raw in an oil, or you can juice it. I like to juice it with carrots, the whole garlic anymore. And for the oil, you can use 2 to 3 drops. 10 to 30 drops of the juice, or 2 to 3 drops of the oil, and some kind of drink. And it's also good for ear infections. You can drop a little garlic oil in there and rub it, and it clears those up pretty quickly, in about 24 hours. And on this page, I have how to make garlic oil. And if anybody wants to take that down, you just take fresh garlic, peel about 4 to 8 ounces of it, pulverize it or mince it, put it into a wide mouth jar, which is on the wall. Put some cold pressed olive oil on it. So you want a pretty good quality olive oil. Just enough to cover the garlic, and you close it tightly, allow it to sit for 7 days, and you shake it every day. And you can strain it and store it in one of these amber color bottles so it doesn't lose its potency. And that's probably a good thing to have on hand for any kind of infection, really. It's good externally, internally, in the ears, anywhere that you can get an infection. And I also added some homeopathic medicines. If you want to take these down, or if you want me to read them out, I can. What these are good for, if you've ever seen the little homeopathic medicines, the little beads, they're good for babies because you can squish them between 2 spoons and powder them and put them under their tongue, and they're generally sweet, so they'll take them. Okay, Econium is good for a dry cough that tends to be worse at night. And generally, if you live with a baby or you are around somebody with a baby, they can answer those questions for you. Byronia is good when the cold begins with a nasal discharge and it moves down towards the chest. And you can kind of see how this one goes. They start with a little runny nose, and then they start getting that little wheeziness in the chest. Byronia is good for that. Ferrum Phos is good for a dry hacking cough that gets worse when the child is exposed to cold air, and that's when they become hoarse. So that's, when they're trying to talk and they're that's when you know that that's a good homeopathic medicine. Pepper sulfur is good for the Bach and croupy cough. The other good thing for croup, believe it or not, is to just bring them in the bathroom and run a hot shower and close the door. It's very interesting that if you take the same child to the hospital, they'll give them a shot of steroids, which has so many side effects that it's almost not worth it, especially when the alternative is to stand in a steamy bathroom. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Ipecac. This one is probably familiar to a lot of people. Most people keep it in their medicine cabinets when somebody takes poison. That's good for when a child has a cough, but they gag and they vomit with that cough. Phosphorus is good for a dry, hard cough with that tickle behind the sternum. And Spongia is good for a dry Bach and croupy cough with dry passages and no sputum. That's probably a cough from this time of year when it's been so dry. I'll let everybody catch up on this before I go to fevers.
What's the name of the last one?
It is Spongia. A sponge without the E and the IA.
And that's for dry cough.
Yeah, that's for a dry Bach and cough with dry passages and no mucus. Sorry. Want to move it down? Better? Yes. Sorry. Okay. Fevers. This is kind of a good rule of thumb to know for any child with a fever. Any fever over 103 degrees that doesn't respond to any of these remedies should be, they should seek medical care. Any infant under 6 months should receive medical care for any fever higher than 100.5 degrees. You just don't know, especially with some of the stuff that's out there. If a child is running a fever that high, it could be something that needs to be looked at. I would say usually when you get to the second child, you kind of have more of a handle on it, but usually the first one you tend to run to the hospital quicker. But after you realize that, they're pretty hardy, you can kind of use your better judgment for that. Any infant less than 2 months old should receive medical care for any fever. And a child who has a fever and they're irritable, lethargic, they have mental confusion, stiffness of the neck, seizures, recurrent vomiting, labored breathing, should seek medical attention immediately also. Okay, some of the herbs that are really good for fevers, Bonset. The top of the herb is the part that's used, and it's used as an infusion at 3 ounces 4 times a day, a tincture, a half a teaspoon 3 times a day, or as a fluid extract, it's a half to 1 teaspoon 3 times a day. Elderflowers are also famous for bringing down fevers, and that's used as an infusion, and that's 6 ounces 3 times a day. Linden flowers are also good for fevers, and you use the leaves, the flowers, and the buds, and it's used as an infusion, 6 ounces 3 times a day. Peppermint is also a good fever reducer, and it can also be mixed with any of these herbs to make it taste better, and you use the leaves, of course, as an infusion, and 6 ounces 3 times a day. Does anybody know how to prepare leaves? Besides Mary.
What, infusion?
Yeah. Do you boil them?
No.
No.
Good. And to make sure, if you boil the leaves, then you lose all the medicinal properties in the steam. So everybody's been through the first few classes, huh? Good. Okay, homeopathic medicines. Also a favorite again because they could be mashed up and put under the tongue. I have it written down here too, I can see them. Actonium, again, is used when a fever comes on quickly, and it's only helpful at the beginning of the fever. So as soon as this child starts to display a fever, that's when you can use actonium. Okay. Arsenicum. That's what it sounds like. It's basically a very diluted form of arsenic. It's not as scary as it sounds. That's good when the child has a fever and is very thirsty. But the only thing is when they're thirsty like that, they just take small sips of water. If you've ever had a fever and you notice if you drink something fast, it makes your whole body ache. So this is the type of fever that you would use the arsenicum with. Belladonna is good for sudden onset of a fever, and this fever is so hot that you can feel the skin radiate on the outside. Belladonna is also good for measles. If they have that at the first sign of measles, it clears it up within a day or 3. 1 to 3 days, I should say. I didn't put that in here, but I just, as a rule of thumb, I remember using that when my youngest had measles. And he had him on a Friday. I called it the naturopathic doctor. And by Monday when he was open, the measles were gone.
You want more tape?
It might stay.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, that's good. No, you haven't. Ferrum phosphorus is given at the first sign of a fever also. And this is with a fever that comes on slowly. It's not one of those where the child is running around playing and all of a sudden they have a fever. This one, the child shows like they're starting to feel sick and then they have a fever. Ferrum phosphorus is good for that. And of course it's better to give at the onset, and the symptoms of this fever is less intense. Usually a fever like that of a small intensity is usually a virus that's not too aggressive, like a cold virus. Speaking of colds, for children that have frequent colds, the body is hinting that the immune system needs help. Antimicrobial herbs such as echinacea are great for the first onset of a cold. Garlic, also in an oil, is also beneficial, and cleavers is also another herb that's good for colds. Cleavers also has antibiotic properties, so if it's a cold that you're not really sure if it's going to turn into a flu or pneumonia, cleavers is very good for that. Nettles also is good for basically They used to call them blood cleansers when I first started in the 90s. Now they call them alteratives, and they're also good. They're in the same class like with pisanozonols, where they actually eat up the free radicals in your system. So nettles is a very good herb for that. It's also good. Nettle juice is really good for allergies in children, and it's pretty tasty, so they'll take it in some juice. Like if you have a child with adenoids or some kind of allergic reaction like that, nettles is the best herb for that. I'll let you finish.
Do you have these on a piece of paper? I can't really see them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying. Or are these your notes that you need?
No, not anymore. Once I get past the page, I'm good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi. These over here. Somebody else needs them. Any questions or anything on colds? What's that? Oh, here they are. All the herbs that are good for a cold. Echinacea, the pot used is the root. It's used as a decoction, and it's 1 tablespoon 3 times a day. The next one is garlic, and that's the bulb. Everybody knows what the garlic bulb looks like. Raw oil or in a juice. One thing that we've tried with one of my kids, Mary actually did it when I was away, is she just minced some garlic and put it on a cracker and he ate it. So you have to be a little creative to get them to eat garlic, but it does work. And it worked so well that he was better about maybe 12 hours later, and then his grandmother took him to McDonald's and he got sick again. That stuff is not food. You ever notice that when you get McDonald's fries, that if they fall in your car, you come back a month or a year later and they still look the same way? They take some formaldehyde and they brush the potatoes with them. That's why my kids know them as formaldehyde fries. But they're tasty for whatever reason. Cleavers is also a good herb for colds. Cleavers is really good for cleaning out the glands. It's one of my favorite glandulars, actually. And that's used as a decoction, and that's 1 tablespoon 3 times a day. And of course, nettles again is good for everything. Excuse me. Did I get to this yet? No, this is colic. Okay, for the homeopathic medicines, Actonium is good during the first 24 hours of the cold. This is when a child wakes up in the middle of the night with a dry, croupy cough. Allium cepa is a good remedy when the child has a profuse and burning nasal discharge. That's one of those colds where underneath the nose is red and the mucus just pours out like water. Allium cepa is a really good homeopathic medicine for that. Euphrasia is good when the child has profuse burning tears and bland nasal discharge. So it's more of that, not that much of a nasal discharge, but more of the child looks like they're crying all the time. That's when euphrasia is the best medicine for that. pulsatilla is good when a child gets a lot of colds all the time with that thick green mucus. Usually those are junk food kids that get those colds though, I notice. If you see the kids who walk around with the crusties all the time, that's a good remedy for them. And that's usually the child that you can hear coming too. They tend to sound. That's usually a McDonald's kid. Okay, digestive problems. Most digestive problems, they're not up here on the notes, but just as a rule of thumb, it's usually, if it's not from an external illness, then it's usually from a bad diet, bad food combining. Certain foods just don't go together. If you have a starch and a protein, those two don't go together. So a baby's body is usually pretty sensitive to that. And that's why they have so many digestive issues. A lot of people give a baby who's not ready to digest cereal because they want them to sleep through the night. And those are the type of kids that have those colicky issues. Because their system really isn't mature enough to break that food down, but people tend to want them to sleep through the night. Really the best thing to do is breastfeed. It's the best food for a baby, that's why it's there. But people tend to try these formulas, and they have now they have pre-digested formula, they have soy-based formula, rice-based formula. If you do have to go with something like that, I would say a rice-based is the best, because at least it's something similar to what the body can digest. But that other stuff, if you read the can, you wouldn't give it to Nettie, never mind an infant. But
How do I make pre-digested formula? How is it pre-digested?
it comes with enzymes in it.
Oh.
It has actual digestive enzymes in it. Those are the babies that are generally preemies who should be getting breast milk from the breast bank, but they really push people against that when they go in a hospital, especially young people, especially women of color, you know, people who really don't know any better. The first thing they do is come in with that case of formula, and it's free, so that helps push it. That and Pampers, they're right there at the hospitals. They don't miss a beat.
And is it all business interests with the companies, or is there some reason why a medical institution would be trying to push formula on a baby?
I think they want the business later on.
Yeah.
That's my personal
Yeah.
view. But also the medical companies really do push it on them. I mean, they come, if anybody's had a baby or known anybody, they usually come home with the case of beer, the case, yeah, right, the case of baby formula, and the little Ross teddy bear that goes along with it, and the little bag, and coupons for more formula. And so it's really a market, because that stuff is so expensive. If they get you hooked on it, they have a customer for a good year. Because there's really, you know, for breastfeeding, it's not only the best for the baby, but the mother. It helps her lose weight, it helps her uterus contract, and you get more sleep if you have the baby sleeping with you, which is another thing this culture discourages, because people are afraid that they're going to smother their own baby, which generally doesn't happen unless the mother is drunk or high. It's not like a natural thing. Most of the time you have an instinct that you feel like you're rolling over on somebody. Just like you know if somebody else is in the bed with you, it's the same instinct. It's more closer with a mother and baby. You can be 600 miles away from your child and know that something's wrong. So how could you not be in the same bed and not know that something is not right? But that's what they do. And you know, it's people who come to these classes and who have that knowledge that it's good to support people, you know, who are trying to do the right thing and sleeping in and cloth diapers and breastfeeding. You know, support those mothers. They really need it in this culture. People have been arrested for breastfeeding in restaurants, which I find really obscene. It's okay to take that nasty bottle out in front of everybody, but don't breastfeed. So it's political.
May I also suggest another reason why, just to answer Alex quickly, why, other than the business, is that the doctors, the medical system don't trust the women's bodies to produce anything?
Yeah.
As in, like, valuing science more. That would be the other, like, one other reason. Like, that I see.
Yeah. Even though they breastfed babies are smarter, because they sell the DHEA, but it's in breast milk, so it's not like you have to go out and buy it if you just breastfeed. But so now we know where the digestive problems come from. So when they do have them, there are a lot of good herbs that are good for digestive problems. Mostly the herbs that have volatile oils, the ones that relax the cramps, reduce inflammation, calm the nervous system, and ease pain and discomfort due to flatulence and colic. And those are chamomile. The flowers are used, that's the top of the plant. It's used as an infusion, and the dosage is 6 ounces, 2 to 3 times a day. Oh, I have the homeopathic and it's there. I was going to say that chamomile as a homeopathic remedy is also good, but it is down here. And it's easier to give them, especially a baby who doesn't feel good. If they don't want tea, it's chamomile is really good, and it's also good for teething. So you see that around a lot. If you look at those teething tablets, that's the main ingredient in them. Lemon balm is also a good herb for digestive problems, and it's very tasty, so it's a lot easier to get them to drink it. Dill also. And if you want to make it taste really good, you can actually mix all of these herbs together in one tea, and it tastes really good. The fennel and anise, you know, they taste like the black licorice. That's really good, especially an older child. They tend to like that a lot better. And you can also, these herbs are good ground up in that form, because you can take that with you and put a little bit of it in a glass of warm water. It's good for adults too. If you go out to eat somewhere, especially Italian food, something heavy that's going to give you some indigestion, it's good to have something like that on hand. You can actually feel it changing the body chemistry in your stomach. You can feel the bubbles kind of going down, and you can taste the last thing you ate. That probably means it's in a bad combination. The thing that you're tasting up is the thing that didn't digest. And a good example of that is usually when they have cookouts in this country, they have watermelon for dessert. Very bad. Watermelon is meant to be eaten alone. And that's why if you go to a cookout and you have hamburgers and chicken and hot dogs, may I dare say, they're scary. And you eat that watermelon afterwards. You ever notice, especially growing up as a kid, you taste that watermelon all night. It seems like you can't get rid of it. And that's because it's floating on top of your stomach because it never got digested. That's not really see that. Ethusia is good for a child who's having difficulty digesting milk and they regurgitate their food. Belladonna is good for an infant that has spasms in their stomach and they come and go quickly. That's usually when you can feel the abdomen is distended and it's kind of hot to the touch. Chamomilla is good for an irritable, colicky baby, and especially a teething baby. Natrum phosphorus is one of the generic remedies that are good for colic and any symptoms that suggest another medicine. It's good for any kind of stomach problem. Castilia is good for an infant that has a distended abdomen in the evening after eating. Want to break after constipation? Okay, for constipation, it's not appropriate to use laxatives for small children unless they're really, really constipated. And And if they're really, really constipated, I like a little bit of prune juice. It's pretty mild. They'll drink it just a little bit. The first time I gave one of my children prune juice, I didn't realize that it only took a little bit. So we had a lot of runny diarrhea that day. But he was definitely cleaned out. No question about it. And usually constipation is caused by dietary changes. It gets better if you drink more water, eat fruits and vegetables, especially figs, raisins, pears, beans, celery, cucumber, lettuce. Apples are really good. Whole grain cereals, of course. Bran muffins. They all decrease constipation, and dairy products, white rice, white flour are very constipating foods. Just gonna say something about whole grain cereals are very important. That stuff, that Captain Crunch stuff that they sell in the store, it causes a white coating around the back of the colon. So what happens is over years the toxins stick to that and they build up. And that's why you see so much colon cancer in a certain generation. If you look back to when they started selling those sweet cereals, there's no mistake that, 60 years later when these people are turning to be older people, that's the highest population of your colon cancer, is that whole generation that started on the whites. Which makes no sense because they take all the nutrients out of these foods by bleaching them and stripping them, and then they call it enriched, and they say they're going to put them back in. But if you just left it as a bran or a whole grain, you wouldn't have to enrich it. I just don't know. I don't know why. Maybe I guess it's cheaper to do that. I don't know. Does
It's a
anybody?
longer shelf life.
That's what it is. It stays forever.
That's what really matters.
And that's what happens in your body, coincidentally. It's a longer shelf life in your body, and the longer that stuff stays in, and especially if you've ever had like that white bread, mostly children do this, they chew up stuff and they hold it in their mouth. It's really sticky and doughy, as opposed to when you have a whole grain and it tends to crumble and break down. And that's what happens in your body. This stuff becomes like a sludge going through your system, as opposed to a whole grain, which is more like a scrub brush. So one of them is really like making stuff stick to it, all the toxins, and the other one is like the scrub brush cleaning it out. So if it was me, I would go for the scrub brush. And it's good if you start raising kids on these type of foods, then they develop more of a taste for them. But if they start on white bread, it's really difficult to switch them over later. I think this is a good time to take a break. People's hands might be tired. I need to talk a bit.